Alright, y'all. Back again with another video. Post this motherfucking stats. I'm at school, so I can't actually do what I would normally do, give y'all that same energy. Look, I tried to record last night and I got a very important phone call from a friend. And so it interrupted my video. And rather than just sit back there try to do it late while I'm fatigued and tired, I decided to wait till today, following day. So, you're not going to have the same amp that I would have. Obviously, I'm at the place of work, but I am going to break down this game to the best of my abilities. This is going to be a little awkward for me because I've had a night to sleep on the game, and so I may not be as detailed as far as the memory of everything that took place, but I'm going to try to do my best. So here's the deal. I'll turn on my monitor. Pelicans win 120-103. They beat the Clippers. Paul George pretty much didn't play in the fourth quarter because the lead was too great. It was just no point. Not like he was very effective. If I'm not mistaken, he was 2 of 11 from the field, partially thanks to Lonzo and a lesser extent Najee Marshall. Only had 9 points. They did an excellent job on him. And it's not, let me also give more credit to Zion Williamson for this too. Because I distinctly remembered this as like the first possession or so of the game. I was like, oh, they're hedging. Like they are hedging and trapping Paul George out of the ball and forcing others to make plays. I was like, oh, okay. And so they were aggressively doing it. They were taking away, his ability to get into a rhythm and get into a flow of the game. I thought that was excellent. Kudos to Stan and them for an excellent game plan. I know we all like to get at Stan a lot of times for, some of his fuckery. But we also need to take time to praise him for when he's doing or coming up with game plans that help you win basketball games. Hold on, I'm trying to log into my computer real quick. So anywho, Lonzo had 18 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Here's the thing, okay? That was one of Lonzo's better overall games. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, he had close to a triple double, at 18 points, 9 rebounds." The immediate numbers jump out, and that's for good reason. He was doing an excellent job. I really liked his decision making overall, from just choosing when to attack, when to pass. And I know a lot of people didn't like the fact that he would penetrate or did try to pass off the ball. I don't have an issue with that. He was seeking the right play. He was attacking the rim. He was getting penetration. He was getting mid-range jump shots up, and he didn't just settle for the three, at least until the fourth quarter. But the main thing was he used pretty much everything he had. Now, going back to other videos where I've talked about his handles, like I said, like I've told people, he's got perfectly good NBA handles, right? There was plays in the game, like there was this one play in transition where he stole the ball and he kind of threw it back behind him to get it in between his legs because it was in an awkward angle where he had the ball, just so he could have control of the ball. Like, look, he has handles, okay? Like I've told people, he has perfectly good NBA handles. No, he doesn't give you the Kyrie and the Steph combination moves where he can get the separation and beat his man to the rack. He don't do that. But for what he has, his handles are perfectly fine. And I saw that numerous times in the game. So when people say dude don't have any handles, I'm like, bro, he show handles all the time. The only thing is y'all don't see him go wop, 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 shake to the basket. You don't have to do that all the time. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes simplicity is better. Um, but he did it all. He did everything you could have asked for, including playing defense on Paul George the way he did. I think once they got him out of the rhythm, it became easier to deal with Paul George. When they couldn't get him out of the rhythm, is usually when they have an issue. But because they were able to get into him early, I don't think Paul George was ever able to get himself where he needed. I believe he made the first two shots, but after that, he was missing. Everything was contested. They were bumping him. Uh, I thought they just did a fantastic job overall on him. But kudos to Lonzo and definitely Zion and even Jackson Hayes too, who were also helping hedge on those pick and rolls. Uh, without their help, I don't think Lonzo would have fared as good as he did. Considering the definite size advantage that they have. But yeah, he came and brought it on both sides of the ball. Um, Zion did his thing, 23 points. He was just Zion. This is a typical Zion game. I did like some of his defensive effort in this game compared to somebody else I'm going to talk about here in a second. Um, there was a lot of two-man game with Zion and Zoe, but I don't think it is fully developed yet. And I also don't think the spacing provided last night did them any favors. I think people like Najee Marshall were out of position so many times that it kind of brought extra defenders in and added more traffic for them to have to deal with. Versus, if it was someone else otherwise, if he had been out of in a different location on the court. But they were trying to work that two-man game, and it seemed like for the most part they were getting it done. Particularly in the half court. You know, I've seen situations where it's just like there was one situation in particular that I'm thinking of right now in the game where they were working a two-man game and it's just like back and forth, and then Zion was going to the basket, but Najee was kind of there. Where Najee should have been there in the corner for the kick out, and so Zion just kind of had to give it like here, and because of that, it was another defender there too. Little stuff like that. But then I've seen the two-man game where Zion gets to use the dribble handoff to Zoe, and Zoe just knocks down three. You know, or what? Side note, we're gonna pause right here. I don't know why the fuck the Pelicans can't seem to feed Zion like when he needs it. Like it seems like, and I've noticed this since the beginning of this. It's just like y'all can't just get the ball to him. Zoe is the only one that it's like in any situation. It's like, and I can tell. Kira last night had a couple situations where he wanted to throw the ball, but I don't think he didn't trust that he could get it to him. So he looked for Zoe and gave Zoe the ball. Zoe got into position and just threw it over to him. And it's just like y'all can't get the ball to Zion for Zion to work. Like Zion be like it's weird because Zion be exerting a lot of energy just to seal off and get into position, and then only for guys to not get him the ball when he's got the established position. Zoe will sit there and literally see, okay, mismatch, go. But everybody else, like you got point guard, like here, you're point guard. You're supposed to be able to, maneuver the ball. You can't get the ball to Zion. Bi, you can't get the ball to Zion, and you taller than both of them. Like that kind of stuff to me is just like, Anyway, speaking of Bi, he had 17 points yesterday. To me, it was a quiet 17, but his shots were some of the biggest ones last night. His offense to me wasn't the issue. My issue with Bi yesterday was his lackadaisical defense. Like there was times yesterday where guys were getting past him and getting open looks because he just was ball watching on defense, right? You can't have that. You got Zion coming to play defense, and the rest of the team got to play defense against a very good Clippers team who's projected to probably go to the Western Conference Finals, if not the Finals. And you're sitting here and you're falling asleep on defense. When you're supposed to be trying to get into a playing game, that's unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? But overall, he was solid. Um, yeah, his defense bothered me, y'all. I can't even. I don't know a better way. It just really bothered me seeing that, and I'm glad AD pointed that out. Like, several times. Like, hey, this is his second time getting burned the same way because he's not paying attention on defense. He's just standing idle. He's not with his man. Um, Bledsoe had a very good game, and I'll save that point for a little later. He had a very good game. He had 18 points along with Lonzo. He was, I believe, 6 of 7, no, 6 of 13 shooting, and he was attacking. Some of this he did Bledsoe things. Just because I'm giving praise don't mean he wasn't trying to throw up shots to get and one some fouls and shit. But he put buckets on the court when it was necessary. So he had a very good game. I didn't see too many bad things defensively from him. Uh, he seemed to be decently engaged for the most part, but at the same time, like I said, there's times in the game where I won't notice Bledsoe, and I don't like that. Having that little court effect, you know, to me is an issue, and I think that's part of the problem. We're talking floor spacing. I think I can notice Lonzo, maybe because I'm intentionally looking for Lonzo, but I think when it comes to Bledsoe, there's times in the game when he doesn't touch the ball and I don't notice him. I forget he's on the court. And that's an advantage and a disadvantage. It's an advantage because if you're a cutter and you got passes, you should be able to get to the rack and attack the basket, especially if the other team is not able to notice you. But on the flip side, if no one is noticing you on the court, what the hell are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain players like Klay Thompson, even when Steph and them are doing their thing, you're still kind of wary of where Klay is because you know how deadly he is, and he can just straight up kill you, right? Um, and there's things like that all over, even the Chicago Bulls, Pippen and, MJ doing their thing, and then you still see Rodman, you know, being aggressive off of the ball. And, it's little things like that. But Bledsoe, oftentimes, I don't even notice he's on the court. And I'm like, oh, he's there? Like, it just pops up, it surprises me. Maybe you guys have seen that or noticed that. You could let me know in the comments. But, that to me is just awkward with him. And, Willie Hernangomez, he had 12 points, 10 rebounds. He was very good. And I swear he begs the question like, damn, Steven Adams is getting paid 29 million dollars and he can't even put up a double double. And I forgot how many games Willie Hernangomez has started or played this year, but I think he's got more double doubles than Steven Adams already, which is insane considering the fact, he's played far less games. But he came in and did his thing, you know, um, especially because Jackson Hayes couldn't guard Boogie. So at one point they had to eventually switch off and, like split their rotation up. But Jackson Hayes adapted in the second half, so kudos to him. I know we're supposed to be talking about Hernan Gomez, but the center position was kind of by committee last night. Jackson Hayes was terrible in the first half. Boogie was just beating him, and the Pelicans defense and Rondo kept okay. There was a play. Rondo fed Boogie in the low post, and he was just eating Jackson Hayes. Nobody came over to help. Uh, did it like 2 or 3 times. Then Lonzo comes over to help, and so there's a missed jump shot attempt, you know, and it's just little things like that. Antonio Daniels is amazing as a commentator or as an analyst because he points this stuff out. It's like he's going to keep doing it until you show you can stop it. The Pelicans' overall IQ is too low. It's too low. Waiting too long to make certain adjustments or stop certain things. And I get it, this is a young team, but Lonzo was the only one that made the executive decision to come all the way off of the weak side to help and trap and contain. And then in the second half, it seemed like okay, Stan got into their butts, and they started okay. Someone got to come over and help. So if it wasn't Lonzo, it may have been someone else, Bi, maybe Zion. But little stuff like that to me is just like you got to do better as a team. No, I didn't plan that like to turn off like that. It just happens. Uh, so that the bench played pretty well last night. I'm gonna give them their credit. I know the other game of the Spurs, I didn't get to watch that game, but I would have looked at the box score. They were abysmal. 29 points total. It was weird. Like Zion alone outscored our entire bench, and it was bench and the starters, not including the big three. You know, if you don't include the starters, Zoe and Bi also outscored the bench too. Um, which is ridiculous. But if you include Bledsoe and Adams in that, they didn't outscore them all because they had 29 points total. It's a motion light, so if it doesn't catch my moving, it'll turn off, and then like when I scratch my head, it picked it up and then turned back on. So yeah, it's the team played much better tonight. Here's the intricate yet interesting part to all of this. There was, and I didn't watch the last game, but I saw it was mentioned on Twitter that last game Stan made a rotation adjustment where he had Zion and Zoe playing together. Like he pulled them both out early and kind of let Bledsoe and Bi stay in. Now, I'm not sure if this is permanent going forward, but I know a lot of people have been asking about this, especially Zoe fans and Stans. They've been wanting, those two to play together for like a minute together for a minute. Here's the thing, because I've also championed this too. What you're doing is you're going to set Bi, and Bi is going to have to play with Bledsoe, which means they're going to have to handle the bulk of everything. Their two-man game is going to have to be on point, and they're going to end up playing with the bulk of like Jackson Hayes minutes probably. Well, not the bulk, but they're going to get a portion of the Jackson Hayes minutes, the Najee Marshall minutes, when Josh Hart and Nikhil Alexander-Walker's back. Those guys are going to be out there with them. Um, they're going to have to be able to be very versatile out there. Okay, Bi is going to get the bulk of the shots because he's going to be the go-to guy with that lineup. Um, I think that lineup might help Bledsoe the most. And so, if this is going to be a trend going forward for the rest of the season, I'm interested to see how Bledsoe adapts and adjusts being played next to a Bi. Especially if we get Josh Hart and Nikhil Alexander Walker back, I'm really interested to see how that dynamic works. Now, as far as the rotation is concerned with Zoe and Zion, Kira will come in to replace um, Bledsoe. And I don't know how this is going to work itself out um, when the others get back, because I would think Najee Marshall is probably not going to get as much play. I would think that would be the case. So Josh Hart would take his place, but Josh Hart normally subs for Bi, and so that's where I'm kind of interested in how that dynamic works. But anyway, um, Lonzo, Kira, that was a backcourt that was very effective with Zion and like Jackson Hayes or Willie Hernan Gomez, and then like Najee Marshall. Like they were energetic, they were very active. Um, they kind of got the control the offense. Really, Zoe got the control of the offense yesterday. And with that being said, there was a whole lot less points Zion going on yesterday. I'm interested to see how many people are actually going to talk about that. The limitation of point Zion, but the empowerment of point guard Zoe. Point guard Zoe in that unit with Zion and Najee and Kira and the big was very effective. You know, just from the ball movement. Now there was some times when Najee Marshall was pissing off everybody because he straight up saw Zoe open and decided to take jump shot. Saw Zoe open for three, didn't give him the ball, just took the jump shot. That happened a couple times. He didn't just miss Zoe; he intentionally denied Zoe the ball, and he intentionally denied. I want to say Bi the ball at one point too. You can't have that. But outside of that, like they were very aggressive on defense. They're very active, and you had a plethora of ball handlers between Zoe, Kira, Zion, and Najee. Everybody on that court could handle the ball and could move and maneuver with the ball. So one of the issues that I thought was occurring with the Pels, especially with Josh Hart, is that second unit would have Kira, no, Zion, Josh Hart, and Jackson Hayes. And really, your only two ball handlers were like Nall, Kira, and Zion. And I say Zion to a lesser extent. And even still, Zion monopolized the ball, so he didn't get to, The others didn't really get the touches like he did. And you would end up with situations too where they just gave the ball to Josh Hart, and Josh Hart really don't have the handles to try to be maneuvering anything. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the differences, the key differences when comparing him to Najee Marshall, and that's why I like Najee a little bit better in that aspect. I think he's a better team player because he's a lot better with the ball handling. Um, but I really liked that combination between Zion and Zoe because I don't feel like they forced too many shots. You didn't have to run Zion ragged by having him play point guard and then having to defend. You could give the ball handling responsibilities to Zoe. Zion is still going to get to touch the ball and make decisions with the balls too. And that way you can take some of the pressure off of him because the defense is waiting for him to get the ball to collapse. Well, there were some plays where Zion just simply went to the basket and Zoe just threw it to him. You know, you can't double that. Okay, Zoe is very good with the ball handling to the point that if he catches y'all trying to double, he can't just drive and get to the rack. He can't just pull up from mid range, okay? Or he can't just pass to the open guy that you left open. He's a very deadly and accurate passer. And Zion is very skilled off the ball to where he can just break away from his man and get to the rim and just dunk it. You know, Doing that to conserve energy as few dribbles as possible and allowing him to be able to play defense at a higher level than he has been, I think is overall very effective. Um, I need to see more of this though, because here's the thing: in all fairness, Clippers are injured. No Kawhi, no Luke Kennard, no Pat Bev. Those important pieces. Okay, not to discredit this Clippers team who had been winning and had been hot, and Paul George was averaging over 30 a game. I don't want to discredit them, and this is a good win. But I don't want to say this is the standard for what you know those lineups could be, that those adjustments that it seems Stan made. Okay, I would need to see this a little bit more. I need a couple more games, especially get some better competition overall, just to see where they're at. Um, it was a good win. I'm not going to deny it. Very good win. I was very impressed. Like I said, I thought this was Lonzo's best, not best, but it was in the top 5 of his overall games this season, where he brought it on both sides of the ball and just gave you the complete freaking game. By the way, I made a tweet and I said, if you guys were ever going to argue why this team should stay together, it was this game right here. The potential that they showed, because this team had this. Let's just take we're going to talk about the meat in team, because the ME is in team. It's just not the way we normally would say it. We're going to talk about the I with the me in team. Zoe, Zion, and BI. What I noticed with the adaptation of the new rotation is it seemed like, at least with when they faced the Clippers yesterday, no matter which twosome you had in of Zion, Zoe, and Bi, they were all very effective. Zoe and Zion were effective. Zoe and Bi were effective. Bi and Zion were effective, and it was like at one point it seemed like, yes, especially in the third quarter, there was like a stretch where it was just like beyond Zion scoring, but there were other things happening around him to facilitate that. Deflections and defensive plays by Lonzo, passes into the open court by Zoe to get them the ball, you know, uh, offense that he's, set up. There were certain things, rebounding the ball and giving it to Bi, who's running in transition. Things that he did that sometimes may not necessarily show up in a stat sheet, amplified the both of them, because at that point those two started just getting everything that they wanted and needed, and it was great to watch. I gotta admit, it was great to watch, and I was like, this is what this team could be. Those two being able to pull you offensively for the bulk of the responsibility, and Zoe being able to balance out. Remember, I told you he is a toolbox for a reason. Whatever the team needs at the time, he has it. When he's able to pull and synergize those two together, it makes them perfect. They are the perfect fit when played properly. But everybody has to be on their road. They have to be on the same accord. The goal is to win. You can't just have Zoe playing two-way and the others not pulling their weight. Yes, B.I. had some defensive lapses and stuff. I get it. But overall, he played a very good game. Very good game. Zion played a very good game. All the starters had double figures: 12 points, 18 points, 18 points, 17 points, 23 points. Freaking phenomenal. Okay? Rebounded by committee. Freaking phenomenal. Just you gotta have, like, if you're gonna give any reason for New Orleans to keep Alonzo next year, this game is it. This is what they're supposed to look like. This is what they're supposed to look like against their peers. The upper level competition. This right here, that is the standard. And that is how they should be playing every night. No, Lonzo does not need to go out there and drop 25 points a game. And anyone who thinks otherwise is stupid. You're stupid. That's not all there is to basketball. He needs to fill in the holes that the team needs and provides what they need. So yes, maybe there's a couple games where you might need to have Zion more on the ball for certain matchups or certain teams. Okay, can you play off the ball and support those guys well enough and do all the other little dirty stuff with them? That's what's going to matter from you. Zion, you're the focal point of the team. This is your team. Okay, you have to take the leadership responsibilities, and you're going to have to set the example. You can't be out there just lackadaisical on defense. And if you know that you need to play defense, you need to get with Zoe and Bi. Be like, look, y'all going to have to handle the bulk of the playmaking tonight so that I have the energy to be able to do both. Okay, it's way too much on me. Coach has to understand that too. Bi is good enough that he has a little bit of everything. He's a very good three-way scorer. He's the best three-way scorer on the team. Shit, other than Zoe, he's pretty much the only one. And even though his passing ain't quite on that level, he's tall enough and he's skilled enough that he can get the ball wherever it needs to go on the court. He has to learn to use his playmaking and passing. If there's the defensive part of Bi that needs to improve, but the passing is the other game. Once he gets the passing and the defense, Bi is going to be unstoppable. He's going to be able to beat you, with his mind. And I think he sometimes is to a position where he feels like he's got to force things. Let the game breathe, like AD says. Let it come to you. You know, like Bi is a very talented player, and I know people hear me say, "Oh, maybe they don't fit. They should probably trade Bi." I don't think Bi is not talented or not skilled at all. It's quite the opposite. I respect his game. He is a very, very good young player, but he sometimes, I think, is trying to do too much on the court. Sometimes you got to realize you don't need to go put up the 20 something points a night. You don't always have to do that. Sometimes a stat line of 18, 9, and 9 is sufficient. That's all you need. You know, let Zion hold that offensive bulk. And when he don't have it, there'll be nights when you need to come and step up and drop 45 points. And you're going to get your praise too. That's why I like Lonzo as a support piece to any team that has its dogs, because his job, he's not focused on my direct numbers. Yes, I need to contribute on the court. I do need to put some points on the board for these guys so that they don't have to do all of the work. Got it. But my main thing is let the game come along and set everybody else up to get those people in the rhythm. Because without me getting everybody in the rhythm in the late game, look at it this way. The ball movement was so nice yesterday that we had Winnie Gabriel come off the bench and give you like 10 or 12 points. He was knocking down threes. And I've been on the Winnie Gabriel bandwagon since they said we were getting him and we were signing him. I had to go look him. I was like, okay, he looked like he could be pretty good. He hadn't shown too much because he didn't get too much playing time all year. But right now, I was like, he looked like he could play. He made some mistakes in the game, and he hadn't played. That's cool. But he got in the rhythm. Zoe gave him the ball. Zion gave him the ball. Najee Marshall knocked down a couple threes today. Kira knocked down a three. The ball movement and everybody getting opportunities to touch the ball and find themselves in the early game. Kudos to Lonzo for that. Kudos to Zion for that. That carries you in the late game so that now your best players don't have to carry the bulk of the offense. When they're monopolizing the ball and they're not getting the touches, they're not going to be in rhythm. One of the things that makes LeBron exceptional is he understands, yes, I need to get going first, but I need to get these guys going too because they're going to carry late game. Like, no matter what team you've been on with LeBron, he's always been drive, kick, open man knocks down a shot. That's the game. Your shooters have to get in the rhythm. And I gotta say this: credit to Zoe for recognizing, because I was watching the monitor how long some of these guys were going without touches, and it seemed like right as I was thinking it, bam, that guy got a shot. He got a touch. Lonzo is very, very, very smart in that he knows that it's time to get certain guys the ball. Zion ain't got a touch. Zion gets in the post, gives him the ball. You need that from your point guard. It's not always supposed to be flashy. It's not always supposed to be highlight play after highlight play. Okay, you gotta be more smart about the game. Let the game breathe. Let it come to you. Understand in-game situation and in-game preparedness. Those are very important features or needs for a young point guard going forward. And by the way, the Knicks are talking about they're going to put a lot of resources into getting Lonzo. I heard Book or Kawhi may look to go to the Knicks. Zoe, Barrett, Kawhi or Booker, Randall, and what's the guy's name? I can't remember the other guy. Mitch Robinson, or who's the other center they got now? I can't remember his name. Nerlens Noel could be a very solid, lineup going forward. So if the Pels don't retain Zoe, I'm telling you, it's gonna look nice wherever he go. His star players are gonna love him. But hey, that's all I got. I hope y'all have a good one. I know it's been a long time, but I'm back. Peace.